All right, so this first track is from one of the users, Arul Rosario, and it is called Kavalai Ini, I believe. He can correct me if I'm butchering the pronunciation, but we're going to go ahead and give that a listen, and then we'll get feedback on it. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and start that. All right, cool. Who wants to start? So there's five of us here, so we'll probably each just take little snippets and go around. So uh, does anybody have anything that they'd want to start with?
I thought it was really cool. I really, really liked that. I like the lots of stereo panning, the movement with the tablas and all that sort of stuff. That was like really good on the ear candy for like the floating around. I like the way that the strings swelled as well from up and down in the stereo image. Thought that worked really well. The only thing I'd say was that the vocal could do with a little bit more presence, maybe up a little bit more in the mix for me. And that's, but I think that's really good.
Yeah, I completely agree. I was going to mention the tablas as well, swinging around. The strings, like you say, they were nice and full. Like the whole range of the instruments, they were. They didn't sound the bottom EQ'd out or anything. As you said about the vocal, it wasn't sparkly, and the strings maybe could deal with a bit of sort of sparkle on the top as well. But that's just personal preference. They sounded great the way they were.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you guys are saying. Like, this was extremely well produced. I love the way that they combined like Western and like Indian style music, which has like more of quarter tone stuff in it than Western music does. But the blend of the two styles was really well done. I thought there were like I don't know if the vocal needs more high end. I think it just there are sometimes in the mix when it's busier when it could have just used a half dB bump in level. Because I felt like in the beginning when it was a little more sparse that the vocal was just like slightly harsh to me, just a little bit too much of the upper mids to my taste, and then it smoothed out when the rest of the production filled in. Um, yeah, and then I just thought like maybe the kick or like the low thump could just use a bit more weight or attack to show up on the headphones better, but that was pretty much it.
Yep, I felt pretty similarly. I was gonna say I think you nailed it on the vocals, Dan. What stood out to me is especially towards the end of the song where there's more elements that are competing, the vocal starts to get a little lost. And some of that was there's a I don't know if it's a nylon guitar or something that's got a lot of bottom body in it that was fighting with the vocal too. Especially in the right side, it would come up, and so I think part of what could help that is automation. So as you are getting more full, you know, push the vocals up a little bit. You know, nudge the vocals up, nudge some of the other elements down a little bit, and then bring them back together. So I like to do a lot of automation, especially on those final choruses, to make everything sit just right. Because it's natural to just say, hey, we're adding this and we're adding that and we're adding all these different elements into chorus to make it exciting, but don't forget that your vocals still have to be on the top. Otherwise, you're going to lose it. Um, so I'll double your comment on the kick drum. I felt like it was a little squashed. I don't know if that's because it just maybe the compressor was in and the attack was really fast and it was bringing the oomph. So maybe open up the attack a little longer to let more oomph, or maybe it's just a sample. But I could have used more bottom in that kick. There was a lot of pop, but not a lot of oomph. And then what did you think, Jordan?
Did we lose Jordan?
Have we lost him?
Oh no!
Nope, that
Oh,
was just my end. Sorry. As far as the track, I love the Indian sound. Love it. There was a part where we had some beautiful bass that came in that hit me on the headphones that I loved. The only note that I really had was the background vocals sound a little phased around 248. I don't know if it was a chorus effect or something, but it was a little bit interesting. I don't know if you guys heard that as well, but everything sounded great on my end. Love the feedback that you guys gave. Really nice track. Love it.
cool. Um, Before we move on, is there anything else anybody else wanted to put in there? I've got one more thing to bring up, but I want to leave it open for you guys if you got something.
Yeah, I would just add with everybody else's comments. I think from an overall spectrum of the mix, the low mids could like come down a little bit on everything, like from like a mastering perspective, sort of between like 250 and 500. So 250 and 500, and then maybe it could do with a little bit more top on it, but that's probably more mastering area than mix, I'd say.
Yep. Cool. The only other feedback I had was that during the solo, where the guitars are doing their thing, it's a little right heavy, and there's one that comes in on the right first, and that's nice and full and it's great, and then the answer comes in, and it's more centered as opposed to countering on the other side. So I personally felt that it could be balanced a little bit more to be even, or at least make the call and answer more split. Um, Between the two. It wasn't bad by any means, and I noticed that there was some far left hits in there too. So that's all I always say is during that solo section, maybe bring out the overall fullness. Even if you start right heavy, bring it out when you bring that second guitar in there. From a mix wise, I mean, obviously this is a mixed track, not mastered. If we look at some of the levels, just because I know some people are curious about where things run at, the integrated on that was -15. So a pretty decent start for a mix level. There are some peaks in it. If we look at the waveform, it's mostly pretty balanced, and then there's some parts where it hits 0 dB essentially. So definitely be mindful of the headroom when providing a mix to your mastering engineer. In a digital realm, of course, you can easily bring things down a little bit, but it's better to give a good target. So if you see spots where you're blowing it out a little, just pull it back, and it'll make your mastering engineer a little happier that they don't have to automate their side of things.